Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thanks so much for calling our meeting to order, and for the roll tonight, we have everyone with us. We had an executive session after our last board meeting, and as well as this morning, my goodness, my words, as well as part of this meeting, both with regard to personnel. Moving forward to 3.1, public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who has any public comment to offer? Would be any agenda item that we have, limited to 2 minutes. Anyone in the audience? No, online? Okay, great. We can move on to celebrating Student Board Representative Service Recognition. Dr. Finnerty.
So sadly, 2 quick years. Yeah, your microphone's been taken away from you, Emily.
Right. You're already rejecting me. Wow.
So 2 quick years have passed, and you've been with us 2 years and are leaving us in a scant few days to chart your course. Having watched the decisions Insta, I know exactly where you're going, so I appreciate that. But it is my honor and privilege to give you a small token of recognition. And it sounds like you have something you want to read. Is that? You can read something, sure. Absolutely.
So I'm going to half say my report, but I'll say the beginning part of it. So it's crazy that I'm saying good evening, well, to you all for the last time. The last 2 years have gone by incredibly fast, and this is an experience is one that I'll never forget. As an involved student, I can wholeheartedly say being a part of the board and giving monthly reports to you all has been one of the most impactful and rewarding experiences of my high school career. I want to personally thank each of the board members for not only giving me the opportunity to serve the board, my school, and my community, for also supporting me along the way and answering any questions that I had throughout my entire journey while serving the board. I also want to thank the school board representatives that served before me, especially Lily and Matt, who sparked my interest in this position and paving the way for people like me to learn and succeed while also serving the board and my community. I also want to thank Lily for her great leadership, teaching me the ins and outs of the board when I was just a sophomore, still learning the ropes and had no clue how to give a report, and I was scared to talk in front of you all. I hope that I also served as a role model for future board members, Cecilia as one of them, as well as my fellow students in my school. I hope to pave the way for more students to be able to fulfill this position and do it well, and if anyone ever has any questions, I always want to be the source for them to ask me those questions. I hope to use the lessons I learned from my time on the board in my future endeavors throughout college and will use them to inspire others to be leaders in their schools and communities. As I sum up my time on the board, I just want to give another thank you to the entire board, the administration, everyone who supported me along the way, giving me this opportunity to serve my community in a way bigger than any other way I've ever been able to.
So at this point, I'd like to invite our board president and our board vice president, and you, Emily, to accept this small token of appreciation for your contribution. So if we can all come to the middle. all the cool kids were board reps at college, all right?
Exactly. You will be so missed. This has been a gift to all of us. I'm just going to speak for all of us and say what a gift it's been. I really appreciated everything, and you talked about, being inspired by those before you. I was inspired by you, and I'm not kidding. I have really appreciated your service here. Thank you, and thanks for putting up with my questions every time of how's school going. So that was a highlight.
Good answer this time. Don't worry, I have a whole list.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments or yes?
I was just going to say, look out, world, here she comes. Wish you the very best, hon.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're moving on to 4.2, our retiree recognition. Dr. Finnan?
At this time, I'd like to invite our Director of Human Resources, Ms. Amy Thompson, to come to the podium. We have a wonderful class of retirees, and it's fitting that this comes on the end of Teacher Appreciation Week. We have a great number of folks in this sitting in this classroom that have made an incredible impact on literally thousands of students. And it's wonderful that you can come here and we can show our appreciation. With that, I'll turn it over to Amy.
Sneak between the bags here. So I am pleased to take this opportunity to recognize 16 of our retirees at the end of the 2023-24 school year. A parting memento for our retirees is the Pottsgrove apple. Those with up to 10 years of experience at the district receive a red golden apple, we call it, and those with over 10 years receive a crystal apple. The apples are inscribed for each retiree. And this year, something new that we did are in these bags. We actually surveyed all staff at Pottsgrove who had wonderful things to say about all of you. So there are mementos from your colleagues and staff, and I think some students too, in these bags for you as memories to take with you. So at this point, what I'd like to do is just recognize each retiree and the logistics behind this. When I call your name, come up, I'm gonna say a few words. Danielle's gonna help me out by giving you your apple that's in a box and your bag. And then if you can just stand in the middle, we'll get a picture at the very end with everybody, okay? So I will get started. Glenn Adams, a biology and chemistry teacher at the high school, 32 years. Glenn was hired at the start of the 1992-93 school year as a biology chemistry teacher at the Pottsgrove Senior High School. Supplemental positions over the years include summer school instructor, science department coordinator, Envirothon environmental club advisor, grade coordinator for 11th grade, and back in the late 90s was an assistant high school boys basketball coach. Jim Algio, sorry, 8th grade. 8th grade social studies teacher, middle school for 35 years. Jim started in February of 1989 as a substitute teacher at Pottsgrove. He was then hired as a contracted social studies teacher at the Pottsgrove Senior High School with the start of the 1989-1990 school year. For the 1992-93 school year, Jim was moved to the Pottsgrove Intermediate School, now the site of Lower Pottsgrove Elementary, which housed pupils in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grades. Supplemental positions over the years include summer school teacher, high school football assistant coach and head coach, and both 7th and 8th grade boys basketball coach. Tom Bailey, you're next. Tom's been our 8th grade math teacher at the middle school for 33 years. He was hired in June 1991 as a substitute teacher. Tom became a part a part-time contracted math teacher at the Pottsgrove High School for 3 hours per day in September of 1991. He was then transferred to a full-time math teacher at the former Pottsgrove Intermediate School at the start of the 1992-93 school year. Supplemental positions over the years include summer school teacher, intramural tennis coach, intramural flag football, street hockey, middle school baseball, both assistant and head coach roles, after-school tutor, 7th and 8th grade football coaching, 8th grade team coordinator, and 8th grade softball coach.
Wow, I didn't know I did all that.
A few things there.
Thank you.
All right, Judy Berry. Judy has been our instructional assistant and the higher level with instructional assistant 2 at the middle school, which has been with us for 15 years. Judy was hired in August 2008 as a substitute teacher. She became a student assistant at the middle school in October 2009. She was transferred to a one-on-one aide at the high school with the start of the 2010-2011 school year, and then to instructional assistant at the middle school in 2013. Supplemental positions over the years include bell choir advisor, marching band assistant, and extended school year ESY aide. Congrats, Judy. So, Judy, you get to stay up here too. Where are you going? I don't believe she's with us this evening, but I will mention Della Cadwell, Spanish teacher at the high school for 19 years. And Della, supplemental positions over the years include Spanish club advisor, lacrosse assistant coach, head field hockey coach, and after-school tutor. So congrats to Della. Next up, we have Jeff Devlin. Jeff is our tech ed teacher at the middle school. He's been with us for 24 years. Jeff was hired in August 2000 as a part-time science teacher at the Pottsgrove Middle School. He spent some time as a Title I instructional assistant and substitute teacher before becoming full-time as a science teacher. What's that? No?
I just retired yesterday, so
Well-
it was a rush job.
Well,
Do you want me to go over what I do?
Well, I'm not sure who we have there, but I do know that you transitioned to the role of tech ed teacher in 2022, because I was here for that part. And we have you down as summer school teacher, alternative ed teacher, and a homebound instructor.
I did summer school, homebound. I was the science coordinator for the building. I was the district science coordinator. Webmaster.
You wrote all the curriculum for the middle school?
Yeah, that was part of the science curriculum. I think that's
Okay.
about it.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. And your apple and your mementos are coming, okay? All right, again, I don't believe she's with us this evening, but Amy Diegelman, 8th grade social studies teacher at the middle school, has been with us for 10 years. And also Mimi Drozowski, instructional assistant 2, middle school for 18 years. I do believe Jen Flanagan's here. You can come on up. Jen is our elementary school counselor at Lower Pottsgrove. She's been with the district for 22 years. Jen was hired in 1999 as a substitute teacher and a Title I reading aide. She also filled in as a long-term substitute in kindergarten and as a first grade teacher. Jen received her official teaching contract in August of 2002 as an elementary teacher at Lower Pottsgrove. Shortly after receiving her school counselor certification, Jen transitioned into her current role at Lower Pottsgrove. Jen has also helped out as elementary club advisor, after-school tutor, and summer school teacher. All right. Thanks, Jen. So, Julie Kovac. Julie's been our school secretary at the middle school for 17 years. She was hired as a substitute teacher and then an aide in March 2006. She was hired as a full-time building aide in August 2006 before moving into a secretary role to the middle school assistant principal in July of 2008. Glad to have you here. Next up is Janice Lawless. Janice is a fifth grade teacher at Lower Pottsgrove and has been with the district for 25 years. She was hired in June of 1996 as a substitute teacher, and then in January 1998, Janice was hired as a Title I aide at West Pottsgrove before becoming a contracted elementary teacher at Lower Pottsgrove with the start of the 1999-2000 school year. Janice moved into her current fifth grade teaching position in August of 2014. And Janice has also helped out as the literary magazine advisor, after-school tutor, new teacher mentor, and elementary club coordinator and club advisor. All right, Deb Meeker, you're next. Deb has been our custodian, and she's been at the middle school and with the district for 25 years. Debbie became a substitute custodian at Pottsgrove in May of 1997 and was hired into a permanent position in November of 1999 at the Pottsgrove Middle School, where she's been a dedicated employee for the past 25 years. Thank you, Deb. So not able to join us is Matthew Pollock, our health and physical education teacher from West Pottsgrove for 17 years. We thank Matthew for his dedication to Pottsgrove. Brian Sheehan. Brian's our chemistry and biology teacher at the high school. He's been here for 10 years. Brian was hired in August of 2014 and at the Pottsgrove High School. His early retirement from Pennsylvania will allow for a new chapter to begin with his teaching career in Florida. Supplemental positions over the years include student government advisor, alternative education teacher, summer school teacher, intramural tennis coach, winter track, and cross-country coach. Thanks, Brian. So last but not least, we have Tom Yenchik. Here you are. Tom is our second grade teacher at West Pottsgrove, and you've been here for 32 years. Tom was hired at the start of the 1992-93 school year as an emotional support teacher at West Pottsgrove. He has taught both second and third grade classrooms at Lower before finding his home as a second grade teacher at West Pottsgrove at the start of the 2012-2013 school year. Supplemental positions over the years include theater workshop, musical choreographer, chorus and drama coach, district wellness coordinator, Buildness Wellness champion, summer school teacher, elementary club advisor, safety patrol advisor, and lead teacher of technology. So thank you, Tom. So just a message to our retirees. My hope for this esteemed group is that they will find new adventures, time with family, and time to enjoy everything they love. Stay young, stay thirsty for knowledge, and remember to appreciate the little things in life. Thank you for your service to this community and especially to the students you served. In this way, your teaching, support, and service go on for years and years to come. Please come back to share your stories of your new adventures and be sure to visit us often. This will always be your home. Congratulations.
All right, thank you. Again, many, many thanks to our retirees. Moving on to agenda item 4.3, the Western Montgomery Career and Technology Center budget presentation.
At this time, I'd like to invite the Western Montgomery CDC Director, Mr. David Livingood, to the podium, and I think we're going to pull up a presentation.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm here, Dr. Fairney and the JOC members asked me to come tonight to present our budget and also talk a little bit about our enrollment and application process. So go ahead. So this year we presented, keep going, right there. We presented 4 scenarios to the superintendents and to the JOC and the boards. I'll talk a little bit about each scenario. The first scenario is just maintaining the programming that we currently have, just with the increases of supplies and you name it, it's in there. The next, healthcare, salaries, so that's the base scenario. Scenario 2 is an additional $50,000 for safety and security. Scenario 3 is an addition of an assistant principal. And scenario 4 is everything on the table. Go ahead. So with the scenario 1 we laid out, it would be a 0.30% increase to Pottsgrove contribution for next school year, which is $4,899. Overall, it's a 4.56 with the increase to the districts. So, go ahead. And that's just the base. The second one is the increase of security measures. With those security measures, I gave 2 options there, but when we come down to it, the option 1 is what we'd be looking at, where we would do some upgrades to our cameras and some blind spots for $25,000. 1 camera is about $1,000, but then you have to install. We did 3 last year for $9,000, so we need a couple more in some of our blind spot areas. And then the second part of that is putting a new vestibule in. So if many of you have been to our building and you come to the not main entrance of the building, which is right by culinary, there's a nice open spot there, and that's where we put a secure entrance and move our attendance secretary there, and that would become for our students, our salon guests, anyone that comes to the building except the postman and deliveries. They'd still come to the business office. So I have had the county out to look at that. I've had the Limerick Township look at that. So we are good to go in their eyes. So that's where the $50,000 for security measures would go for next school year. Go ahead. The change for this is a 1.04% increase for Pottsgrove, or $16,000. Overall, $344,909, or 5.33% change. Go ahead. For scenario 3, knowing the structure of the building, we have increased our population by 200 students since 2000. We lost an administrative position for our technology director. Yes, we did contract that out to the IU, so we still have some support there in technology. Our special ed population is about 40%. We have 6 new teachers in this building, and 3 are brand new to teaching. And the thing that's so important for us is that these teachers do not have teaching backgrounds. They come from industry, and then 5 years in, or 3 years in, they had to go back to Temple to start their teaching cert, and that could take up to 10 years. So I'm picking a guy who's fixing a diesel truck on a Monday. On Friday, they're teaching class full of 20 kids. So that would be help to support that role. We have an increase in the EL population, like most of us. The one thing about the CTE, we have the same regulations that a school district has. So Safety and Security Act 55. Any mandate comes down from the state, we have to follow, plus CTE mandates. So we have an additional of that. So the support staff that we have, it's myself, a principal, business manager, and a maintenance director, our administration. So we do all that for that position. Curriculum development support, we're in a process now with helping create new curriculum for our building. Support the safety and security coordinator, because if you don't know, Act 55 has put a lot of stress on districts for the mandates. And at any one time, if Craig and I are in the building where there's two only certified administrators, if we're both out, we have no certified administrator in the building covering. Go ahead. So the increase just for the assistant principal plus the base would be a 0.33% to Pottsgrove, or 53,000 up from last year. Go ahead. So then scenario 4 is everything included, base plus safety plus the security measures, and it's a 0.404% increase, $65,000. Go to the next slide. This chart here sort of shows the comparison across the board. My understanding is that your budget process is pretty much finalized, and I know that you guys not put anything in for the big increase. And Dr. Fearney and the superintendents, we spoke about that process. So our process at Western Center for our budgeting hasn't really changed in 33 years since Ms. Wilson's been there. Our budget's always out in March or April. Got a little delayed this year for personal matters. But we know moving on next year that our budget's going to come to you guys by January. That's our goal. Our process is first time we're really adjusting to that, because the budget process is starting sooner and sooner in our districts. So we're going to work on that. At the JOC meeting the other night, we had lengthy discussion about where certain districts stand. No vote was on the table that night. It got pulled off the agenda. So this is really a discussion for you guys on how you want to go with what goes. Jay, Dr. Frank, should I add on that discussion at all? So they're aware?
So the next part of the presentation actually transitions a little bit into the enrollment piece.
Yes.
So if you like, we can have a conversation about the scenarios and about the budget process, or we can go through the rest of Mr. Livingood's presentation and then kind of discuss everything.
Okay. I can do that. All right. With the budget, it's a 5-year calculation off your daily membership, average daily membership. So as you can see, the numbers fluctuate year to year based on that average. In the last couple of years, Upper Perks numbers have increased, and they're taking a little bit of that share away from Springford. So in the budget, it looks like Upper Perk is paying more, which they are, because their average has changed that drastic over the last couple of years, over the last 5 years. So that's where your ADM rate is at. So this year we had, don't quote me on my numbers right now because I'm sort of scatterbrained, but that's okay. If we look at the acceptance, these are the numbers that you have for your applications. Can I shut the light down real quick? Or can I just come up here and talk, because I can't see you? Okay, I'll go back here then. So we had 69 students for 8th grade that applied. Out of that, 36 were accepted, 33 were waitlisted. Thank you. So 9th grade, we had 15 students applied, 10th, 8, 11th, 6. So overall of your 8th grade class, 26%, 27% applied to our center. Keep going down, next slide. So the next slide will show what programs were sought after, what kids were accepted. You know, cosmetology is our #1 sought after program for the whole building. I think we had 65 applications overall. Next one would be health science this year and culinary. So some of the programs didn't have any students apply, such as our precision machining program. And sports medicine is a 10th grade program. They can go into their intro to med program, and then in their 10th grade year, they get put into that program, or they could apply in. Diesel technology, there was 2. Early childhood, there were 2. But your big ones were intro to med and cosmetology. So your acceptance rate of those was 23% and 20%. So if we go down to the next slide, this was the overall. So 98 students applied from Pottsgrove and 49 were accepted. So you got a 50% acceptance rate. Our overall, we had 232 students applied, 155 were accepted, and 98 were waitlisted. That was just in 8th grade. Overall, that number was 303 students applied, and 205 students were accepted, with 128 on a wait list. So we had a 62% acceptance rate this year. We know that this is disturbing. We are public education, and we are working to find a way to fit more kids into the building, and that plan is not there yet. I am working with the superintendents and my staff to come up with some creative ideas to address this issue. Next slide, please. So as you can see, here's the overall acceptance into our programs. Like I said, cosmetology had 57 applications. 17% of those applications were accepted. So, 18 of those students. It's tough. We have, cosmetology especially is a certified program. There are not so many students per law and per space. So when we start looking at how do we get more kids, if we add an instructor, that becomes a challenging issue. The one that really surprised me this year was Intro to Medical Careers. That number is really up from the past year, and we took 25 students in that program. So we had 54% acceptance into that. Welding, carpentry, they were all typical waitlisted programs right away. We do have 7 students coming into precision machining, which is great. In the biomed science, that's a 11th, 12th grade program, and not a program of study, but it is just a project lead the way program. If you go down, the next slide, so this is our application rubric. You guys might have saw this already. I think I presented before about this. I presented this to the JOC, the superintendents, the principals, the counselors. So when I came to the Western Center 2 years ago, there was no rhyme or reason why a student got in. So we brought in this application process and the rubric scoring. We look at attendance, discipline, grades, interest statement, and an additional statement of your letter of recommendation. So we try to treat this like they're applying for a job, because that's why they're coming to the Western Center, is to earn careers and their diploma from there, well, certificate from there. So through this process, our average score for overall applications of students getting in was about a 31. So we're taking some very high caliber students. However, the students beneath that are not getting in, which is concerning, because, you know, some of these kids can benefit from the Western Center, and I fully understand that. But when we have a competitive market, we had to come up with a way to showcase that, and with the rubric. So in the rubric process, there's only 2 people that review the applications. It's the building principal and the 1 counselor. They review every application, so the rubric and the scoring is the same. There's no difference of opinions. I will say that we did get calls from politicians and parents and business owners about certain students, but my philosophy is the best student gets in off the rubric scoring. In our articles of agreement, there is nothing to say we don't have slots. We don't have Pottsgrove gets this many, Upper Perk gets this many, or Springford gets this many. It is not in there, so it is the best of the zip codes. And I look at it this way: a business in Pottsgrove is going to hire a student from Upper Perk or Springford or Pottsgrove. It doesn't really have the matter of the zip code, but if they have the training and the skill set, they will be hired in our local community. So I'll leave it at that, and I am open for questions. Go ahead, Dr. Nibbert.
Yeah, help me understand acceptance numbers overall. And let me just take one example here. Electrical occupations, you have total number of applicants, 20, 9 were accepted.
Yes.
For the 11 who were not accepted, didn't meet the standards, this is hypothetical to any of those categories. Were the 11, or the difference of people who were not accepted, were they didn't reach your standard, or were you running at capacity and these are potentially qualified people who couldn't get in because you were at capacity for that discipline?
So first, we don't have a standard for any student can apply and be accepted there. This is the number of slots that were allotted because of the cohort moving through the 4-year program. With electrical occupation, in the morning, we had 9 seats open, so we filled 9 seats. So off the rubric scoring, it might have been a 35, 35, 35, 32, 32, and then that cutoff might have been a 29. Right? So those 9 off the rubric were put in because they had the best rubric score against all other students who applied for that program.
So all the students who met your standards were accepted?
Like I said, we don't have a standard. Based off the highest score on the rubric, they're the ones who get in. So if you have a 35, if a kid scores a 1 and he's the only one who applies that program, he gets in.
Correct. But my question is, were there students who were, in essence, turned away because you don't have slots?
Yes. 128 students were turned away because we don't have the slots.
Okay, and that would show up as the difference between total number of apps and total number accepted?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
What do you do if you have a tie, which I'm sure you do? And also, when these students, I'm looking here, is there any indicator on these applications which school district the students are coming from?
So there's no indicator from what school. I mean, we do have the transcripts, but that does not go into this application. Also, if a student has a disability, that is not included in the rubric scoring. When we look at the grades, it's the overall average of those kids' grades. So a kid might be good in gym, but terrible in science. If he gets an A average, he gets an A average. So we average all those grades together. It really is that the principal and counselor go through each rubric and score, no matter what school it is, no matter disability, if they have one or don't, it is that. If there's a tie, which we did have a couple of those, not many, but the ones, they'll go back and read their interest statement. If their interest statement says, mom, brother, sister, grandma, we're all cosmetologists, and this is the dream job I want to have, that was a little bit of the tiebreaker. The other thing with the counselor and principal looked at was what the math, science, and their core subject scores were. So we had to come up with a system for that. We didn't have many ties, but there was maybe a handful of ties.
Dave, quick question. I see we have waiting lists. Is this increasing each year?
Yes, the waiting list is increasing each year. I'll say that, you know, across the county, we're all over 100 on a waiting list for all 4 CTC centers. It is increasing. The one thing that we heard last year, feedback from the counselors and principal, was that upperclassmen were not getting an opportunity to come. So we changed this year to allow upperclassmen to come in, which all we did was say years at Western versus their grade level. So if you're a first year 11th grader, you'll be coming in the morning for year 1 of the tech center. So that change has actually allowed us to bring 55 upperclassmen into the center. They might not be completers, but they're definitely getting exposure to the program. So that was one thing that we sort of changed a little bit. Talking with the counselors and principals, they might have to do some adjustment on their schedules later in the year because the 11th grader taking a morning Western Center class, he might have taken English and science in the afternoon. So that was a little bit of change. So if you're on the wait list, it doesn't mean you're not going to get in. If you're on a wait list, you're automatically put on the wait list. And then if a spot opens and you're next on the score for the rubric, you get contacted and see if you still want that spot.
One more quick question. Maybe if you could explain the AM versus the PM classes.
Okay.
For everybody.
So the AM class currently is a 9th and 10th grade section, so we call it level 0 and level 1. And afternoon is level 2 and level 3. So now we're switching it to year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, because in the morning, the teacher could be teaching 2 to 3 different levels of students at the same time with one teacher. So that's why the class size are around 20, 1 for safety, 1 for instruction, and the size of our classroom space. Not so much the lab space, but the actual lecture space. So that's where that comes into play.
Dave, our acceptance rate for Pottsgrove right now is 50%. So of the 98 students who turned in apps, 49 were waitlisted and 49 were accepted. It's the lowest acceptance rate of the 3 districts. When you compare number of students accepted against total number accepted for the 3 districts, we're at 24% of all the students who've been accepted for next year. Pottsgrove students is 24% representation. That's closer to a quarter then it is a third. And I realize there's a difference in the population between the districts. So the question becomes, I just find that disturbing. I mean, I'd like to get more Pottsgrove students in. I've seen the rubric several times. I mean, it goes to the conclusion for me that we're not sending kids that are as qualified as other kids. And I just feel that's tough for me to swallow in terms of that. So I don't know that there's a question there, but I'm saying that as much of a statement for the board. What do you do? What can we do to get our acceptance rate compared to total above 24%? Because the administration here is working extremely hard to increase the number of kids applying, but the end result of the effort is an increase in the number of kids waitlisted, which means potentially they could get in, but they're not likely to. So I just find the acceptance rate bothersome, and it raises the question, does that rubric need to be looked at, or should some consideration be given to the districts that the students represent? And I don't know. I mean, I understand the other side of that argument that says, well, these kids from this district score higher. So what do we do about it? And I'm not looking for an answer tonight, but I'm becoming more and more concerned about that. I'll stop talking because the efforts have been huge to increase the pool coming in, and yet the end result is we've dropped down the lowest of the three districts, both in terms of the wait list and in terms of percent of overall accepted at 24, which.
But, Jay, we're also the smallest population. So if one school district has 1,000 kids and another school district has 200, statistically, the school with 1,000 students is going to have more kids who, get to the top of the rubric. It's just,
I understand that,
straight up
but when you deal with
statistics.
percent accepted,
It's the same thing. If
Well,
they're
but
taking the
it's-
top 10 rubric scores for a specific discipline, the school that has 1,000 kids has a way better chance of getting kids into that top 10 because they got more kids.
but I'm not talking number, I'm talking percentage.
They're the same thing.
No, 25% of 300 is less than 25% of 900.
No. 25% of 300 is 75, 25% of 900?
Yeah,
I can't do the math, but it's way more.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. But still, even if acceptance rates were more equal, it would account for the difference in population, or could account for the difference in population.
But not in a fair way.
So if I can suggest this, so one of the conversations that has happened at this table over the last couple of months is not only about Pottsgrove. Obviously, we care more about Pottsgrove than the other districts. It's a fact, all right? So we're concerned about the number of students overall that are getting turned down and the number of students specifically that are getting turned down who are Pottsgrove students. And the rate of acceptance is very different. Upper Perk is about the same size as us, slightly larger, and they're getting 80 kids in, and we're getting 48. That's very different. And then the other conversation, the other conversation that we've kind of had is if the rubric is showing results that are very significantly different from us to two other districts, I think there's reason to question the rubric. And I'm sure you have examples too. There are kids that don't necessarily have great grades. I certainly know literally hundreds of them who haven't had great grades in traditional school, go to tech and just absolutely shine. And not only do their grades at the tech school reflect positively, it actually improves their performance at the sending school. So I have questions about that. And then the other thing, to be fair, that we've talked about here is we've talked about budget in collaboration with this same kind of argument. If you were to come here and say, hey, I can get another 80 kids into the school if you give me find room to hire 3 more teachers, you'd get a 9-0 vote. I feel pretty confident on that because I do think the market for students and the interest for students in CTC programs and the market for CTC graduates is strong. And I think as advocates for our kids here, I would not be doing my duty to if I don't advocate strongly for increasing numbers, increasing capacity, because we'll support that. I feel very confident that you come here and say, hey, we found a way. We looked at every lab. We looked at the drawings. We think we can get another 2 kids here. We think we can open even a Twilight lab or an AB lab or something like that. You would walk out of here. You wouldn't have to buy dinner in Pottsgrove, okay? Because we'd take care of that, all right? So that's really the biggest thing, because we do get kids excited about the program, and it's disappointing when that excitement ends as an 8th grader and they don't get the opportunity to get in, and then their prospects for getting in as a 9th, 10th, and 11th are slim to none. So that kind of sums up. Is that fair?
Maybe we're getting a little too far into the weeds here, but there's an assumption both of you gentlemen were making, which is that students from the 3 districts are the same. And I'm not an expert on the demographics of these 3 areas, but I'm pretty sure that's not true. There's demographic difference in income, in background and whatnot among these 3 districts. And unless you take that into consideration, that will impact the acceptance rate of the district. And I'm going to, I'll dodge it and say that's beyond my pay grade, and it's beyond yours too.
If I understand, your application process is trying to be as blind as possible. Your application process wants to be blind to school district, special needs, haircut, anything. You just want the best students.
Yeah, so our application is so much as a blind as what program they're going in, we know.
Yes, you have to.
They know when they pull up the transcripts, they know the counselors, but the school does not play a part into who gets in and who does not. Dr. Ferry and I have had some discussions already about the rubric, right? So I've vetted this through the Department of Ed. I've vetted it through several other people. We're in a tough spot right now in career technical education. And when I meet with business owners in my local advisory committee, which is a group of businesses in this area that we serve, they want more strict because they want the best caliber students coming out to work on their cars, to be electricians, to be pre-apprentice. So I have to tear it back and say, we're public education. We can't do that. But it is a very blind process.
And if you're only getting half of the kids in, I think you're probably already getting the cream of the crop.
The other thing I'll say, if we look at what programs had high enrollment or application for, cosmetology, intro to med, but then we look at some programs that didn't have high level of interest. I have to go back and say, are we marketing this program correct to these districts? Because this is an area where, precision machining, you can make a lot of money and have a good sustaining career in precision machining. So we had no applications in that program from here. So does that change how we market to these programs and who needs what? So yes, there is a lot of concern. I've heard this. I am in the process looking at, Dr. Ferry, I'm looking at drawings. I'm looking at space of each lab space, the classroom space. How can we fit more instructors in without building? or more students in without building. We're looking at, articles of agreement when we talk about the 10-year plan and what's that look like? Is there a slot allotment allowed for districts? So if we open the articles of agreement by all schools, then we can start making those changes for 2024, right? Where it's a different era, different time. Those articles were written in 66 with little revision, so we have to change, just like school code was written very many years ago, and there's needs to be changed, right? We sat in that meeting and heard the politicians say that. Like, maybe that's something we have to look at. And we feel privileged and honored that so many students want to come to our school and learn, but we know we're providing a great product to the community. And Dr. Finnery's point, we do have some students with disabilities and not disabilities that weren't so hot in school, and they are excelling. When we just got NOCTI scores back, and we're a 94% pass rate. So we are excelling over at the Western Center, and businesses are coming in to scoop these kids up, which is tremendous.
Dave, I had a question that I didn't think to ask earlier, and just looking at the rubric made me think of it. So when the two people who are reviewing all the applications have the rubric out, what other materials do they have of the student applicant? So they have the transcript?
They have the transcript. So all this information comes from the counselors. So they have a transcript, and that's pretty much their interest statement and just their their parent name, if the parent signed off that they can apply. So everything is on our online system that we collect this data, and the counselors and parents have to fill it out. Once they're accepted, it gets kicked back. So when they go through, okay, they look at the transcript for grades. They look at the discipline report that's pulled. Out of school suspensions. It's not in school, it's not detention, it's just out of school suspension. And then excused absences, the counselors will put that in of how many absences they have. And we're only looking at the first 2 semesters of that current year. We're not looking at historically over their education career. It's only the first 2 semesters. So from August to January, or are you guys done in December? Only those first 2 semesters count towards that rubric scoring for that school year only.
So I'm curious, Pottsgrove, are we providing this rubric to students who have shown an interest in going to the Western Center so that they know what their goals are? If they want to go into, if they want to follow in the family footsteps and, become an automotive technician or a cosmetologist or whatever, do they know that they have to live up to these standards in order to have a chance to get placed?
That, and also how many positions, how many slots are going to be open the following year so that they have an idea. You know what? Maybe I want to consider this one, which only.
Yeah, and that's a tough thing. So 5, 6, Patty will know better than me. Probably about 6 years ago is when that exploratory program came in for 9th graders, and it sort of just morphed into a 4-year program. So the numbers for the slots got all out of place. So now changing it to the year at Western, we could pretty much say 10 seats a year in that program will be open unless it's a 2-teacher program. So cosmetology, auto, protective services, those 2-teacher programs would have 20 slots. So we know, and that number should stay consistent through the upcoming years. Because sometimes you'd have a senior come in and it would drop and change that cohort. For example, this year we had 17 seniors in sports medicine and only 7 underclassmen because of the big allotment of how the program started. So there will be 3-4 years from now, we'll have a good grasp on how many seats are there, and it should stay pretty consistent.
Dave, just a real quick question. When the students fill out the applications, they actually have to fill out their first choice and second choice, right? So if they don't get into one, they can go into the other, and same as being waitlisted for those, right?
Yeah, so if a student doesn't get the first one, they'll get the second one. And I'm not sure, I'll go back and can find out, but I think I think we had some kids that their second choice, they were a little higher than the first choice, but since it wasn't their first choice, that first choice student got in over them. So that's something we have to look at and come up with to see what is the best method.
Another clarifying question. This is the first year with the rubric, correct? Second. Okay, we didn't, no changes?
No changes.
Okay.
So this is the second year. And our data is not that great because before my tenure at the Western Center, we didn't have data. It was a survey monkey. They take a pile of papers and say, this kid, this kid, this kid, and that was it. So now we have some real solid data, so we could see what areas, like I said, Intro to Med this year just blew up. And I don't know where it came from, but now we know, hey, this is an area we might have to focus on. Last year, we had 26 and 28 in welding and carpentry. So 2 years in a row, we've had that many kids. So when we get this data and understand where the interest lies, those are the target areas. I know cosmetology is, everyone loves it. It's a great program. We have 20 out of our 21 girls fully licensed before they graduate. It is, and boys, it is amazing. So it is a good opportunity, and we know that's a popular program. So that's one area we have to look at.
So this rubric you've only used for 2 years. Prior to that, what did you do?
So prior to that, I was not there, and prior to that, they didn't have a rubric. It was
So
just
what would did they?
shuffle the pile and say, here's God.
Okay, so
That was my understanding.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Has the quality of the students improved dramatically over the last 2 years? The output with the NOCT results?
No comment on that. NOCTI results were always in the 93s, and that's because of our
Right,
instructors.
so then that sounds to me that the actual quality of the students going in doesn't have as much impact as the quality of the teachers teaching them there in the program itself.
Correct.
So then really the rubric is not going to benefit any by choosing the top students because you are already taking whatever students came in and producing top-notch students from any quality level.
Correct. But how do we choose what student when we have a wait list of 128? There has to be some sort of way. I mean, I am open to ideas. I am open to many different strategies. If the rubric's not it, the rubric's not it. But we had to put a system into place because I didn't feel comfortable with picking out of a pile to say, well, here's why you didn't get in. Now we know why they didn't get in.
I'm not willing to necessarily accept the argument that was presented, but what you're presenting, Jim, is essentially a lottery would work.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm not willing to subscribe to that, but I mean, that's the pathway you're suggesting.
Well, or what you do is you take like above 30, I don't remember the max range there, but above 30, you've got two choices, two counts in the lottery. Between 25, or 3, and then between 25 and 30, you've got 2 shots at the lottery.
Yeah.
Along that line.
Again, I'm not necessarily in agreement with your conclusion, but that's the pathway you're going down, which is being used in some institutions. I mean, it's not an outrageous suggestion, but I'm not ready to go there.
If I can just make a couple of comments, and then I do want to steer it back to budget because that is the issue. So there's two things, and one is a comment, and I don't know that I have enough insight to be accurate on this, but if the rubric is next to a transcript, it's not really transparent because the transcript of each school probably looks different. And if two people are making those decisions and I think it's problematic. Not that I'm suggesting any kind of whatever, but I think it's problematic. So that's something that I think maybe I'd be interested in thoughts on how to maybe improve that process.
So
And then,
can I answer it to that, Dr.
yeah,
Feeney?
sure.
So we could probably do that, but it's gonna take more work on your counselors.
Maybe.
To put the grades in individually
Yeah.
into the system, so then it's totally blind. Right
Right.
now, it's just an upload. So we tried to streamline the process for the counselors because they have so many apps. So
Yeah.
if we need to change that, we can.
And look, you might be right, that might be the best way to do it, but I'm just pointing out that it's not really blind. That's the point I'm trying to make. But the other piece, what I just want to keep circling back to is we can talk about whether our kids are the best kids. I know some of the kids that got turned down, and I know they're great kids and deserve to be in a program. But that's my personal thing. I think what I really want to celebrate is there's a lot of interest in decreasing the 207 or 172, the number of the kids in all of the districts that didn't get in. And that's like, we're going to pivot back to budget, and I'm telling you, if you came with that message, you'd have a very supportive, easiest budget discussion you're ever going to have. It's going to be a whole lot easier than like what you're asking for, I suspect. So that's the biggest thing that I want to leave you with. There's a lot of interest. We have a schedule that gives our kids more time at the Western Center than the other sending schools. We've done everything that we can to commit to providing this resource for our kids, and it is personally frustrating, I think collectively frustrating, that we can't have more kids engage in that process. And with that, I am going to ask that we kind of spin it back to budget, because I do know that that's important.
But budget's
I've had a question for a little bit. You had said that some of the programs are 4 years. If we made those 2 years only, wouldn't we be able to get more students in?
So we are looking, if we go back to 3 years, so you still only have 20 seats. So what that would impact is, say, a 2-year program, 11th graders and 12th graders. So they'd have to get majority of their academics done those first 2 years, and then you'd only have 20 seats then in that program for the AM, and then 20 in the PM. So you're only still taking 20 students. So over the 2 years, you're taking 10. So look, when I say everything is on the table, everything is on the table. I got into education to make big change, and if that's what we need to do at the Western Center, that's what we'll do to provide this service to our students in our community.
But that's still 10 more students than each year.
It is, but over the course, right, and the way, over the course of that time, you still have the same number of students, right? And say cosmetology, one of our most sought-after programs, the benefit of having the 4-year program is really those students walking out of there with their state licensed cosmetology. So if you did a 2-year program, they would not have enough hours to sit for the test, and they would have to go to school after the Western Center.
And I understand that, but again, more students would have an opportunity, whether those students, the other ones had to get additional hours outside the school. At least more students are getting the chance, and that I think is the most important thing.
And I'll say this, you guys are one partner of 3, and it's sometimes nerve-wracking because everyone has different philosophies. Whatever I do will be communicated and vetted by the superintendents, the principals, the counselors, the administrations of all of our partners. And then I don't want to bring a plan to the full board that has not been vetted by administration. And when that plan is ready, you will be seeing that plan. And we will look at everything, I do promise you that. Even what Dr. Ferry said about a twilight program. So we're looking at everything possible to do to increase the enrollment over there.
So you okay if I move back to budget? Because I appreciate the discussion here. Acceptance is already decided for this year. Budget has not been approved yet for this year. Western Center, on their May 6th meeting, had a budget request. The Western Center administration was asking for approval for Phase 4 of the 4 phases that Dave presented. Pottsgrove had already approved our budget, and we approved Phase 1, which was the status of the budget. So at the May 6th meeting, there was quite a useful discussion. Neither of the other two districts, Springford or Upper Perk, had an approved budget yet, and had not made a decision on either of the 4 phases, although Springford said they didn't believe that they could go beyond Phase 2. Now, that's of interest because the bylaws of the Western Center for the Budget say that 2 of the 3 districts must approve on the budget unless one of the districts has 50% or more of the millage.
Yeah, so it's 50% of the JOC has to pass the budget, then 50% of the boards need to pass, and the district with the largest market share, which is Springford at 65%, would have to pass the budget.
So we need Springford and one other to approve the budget. So the next meeting of the Western Center of the JOC is June 3rd. We at Pottsgrove have another meeting before then. We can either have a discussion tonight and say, are we recommending option 1, 2, 3, or 4? Or we can postpone that until our next meeting to give that consideration. So we have the time to do that. And yet what Chuck, and I'm speaking for Chuck and Patty and myself, what we're after is the ability to come back to that budget discussion and feel that we are representing the majority opinion of this board, where we want to go. So that's the decision we have to get to. Does the majority of this board want to go with Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3? I keep calling them phases. Option 1, Option 2, Option 3, or Option 4 of the Western Center budget. Knowing that we have already done anything other than Option 1 would require reallocation of monies in the budget that we've approved. Does that make sense with what I'm saying? And knowing that we may walk back into that meeting, now Springford told Chuck and I, that they wouldn't go beyond Option 2, that looks like that's what they were going to do. If Springford and Upper Perk came back in and said Option 4, that would win, with the vote. So the question I'm asking is, do we want to have that discussion now, given the time and the remainder of the agenda, or do we want to put that for a vote on because I'd really like to get a vote on it so that Patty, Chuck, and I can go back knowing that we're representing the majority of this board. Do we want to put that as a vote for our, is it May 23 meeting?
May 28th.
May 28th.
Because it's not on today's agenda as an action item. So I think we can't vote on it without putting it on the next agenda. Does that make sense?
And by sunshine law, we're not supposed to be debating this among ourselves privately. So is there anything people need to know tonight to debate that in order to make a decision at the next meeting?
Curious as to how you prioritize the safety or the additional administrator. Seems to me they are just about dead equally important. If you had to choose one, you'd choose safety, but that extra administrator is going to really start to help pull to get more students in there.
I've seen it firsthand, like what you're saying, and I totally agree with you. I see Dave, I see the principal. Donna, who's our business manager, who is brilliant, does all the grant writing. I mean, she has so many different hats she wears and makes it successful to get this money in for us, that sometimes it's one more thing that she really doesn't have time for. But in my opinion, just my little opinion, we need another administrator in there. That's all I can say, because I've been there forever. And I think it would be much, now we did have one, but we never replace. See, once you once you have a position and you take it away, you never get it back. You never get it back. Well, the Western Center, but I'm telling you, these guys work so diligently and are really, if one's out, the other one can't be out. I mean, because and it is a safety issue. And if you could only see the success in these students, that's what melts my heart. That's what melts my heart, is seeing how they do so much with so little, but they need help. So I'm just going to thank you for that, but I'm just going to throw you my 2 cents, or maybe 5.
There was, to combine answer, I think, and Chuck was at the meeting too, the majority opinion of the JOC was that the safety and security for this next year was more important than the additional administrator, given that the size of the number of students there is not changing, and the current principal, and Dave said they could buy another year with what they have. So that's how the priority came down. There was that discussion because of the additional cameras needed for safety and because of the change of the entrance for safety. I think I'm speaking fairly, Dave, and I'm looking at you. That was a majority opinion that if you were choosing one over the other, the safety would be more important now, also less cost than the administration, than the assistant principal.
Yeah, so, sorry, let me.
Okay,
can I-
yeah.
So, Upper Perk came in and said, we're to support everything. Springford said, we budgeted 3%, and that's at 3 per 5, so we can go with safety. And then Dr. Nippert and Mr. Strunk said that, here's where we stand as Pottsgrove. So that was the discussion. Obviously, I put a lot out there. We do need it. Is it ideal not having that third person? No. But we do what we have to do to survive over there. I know that assistant principal doesn't bring in more students, but does help support that structure of what we need to do. I'm not to get into deliberation, that's for you guys, and I gave my recommendation as the director of the center, and that's where I will go.
The question that I have is the assistant superintendent position. Does that fulfill the needs of your administration, or is there another position that can work out better? For instance, you mentioned your 10-year plan, and that's going to require a fair amount of work if and when you implement it. And in some extreme cases, that may require a part-time person working to coordinate with the contractors and whatnot. You already have personal experience in that business, probably more than I do. But the fact of the matter is, assistant superintendent is an easy position to imagine and fulfill. I'm not sure that assistant superintendent at your institution is going to do the same thing that people are thinking about when we talk about it as an assistant superintendent for here. And that conversation comes up frequently from time to time.
So this position is a 10-month assistant principal position. We're the only center in the county that doesn't have a three-structure system, three-pronged. The director, assistant director, or / principal, or an assistant principal / career and tech supervisor. That's what they're called in career and technical education. So the certifications are a little different. So the 10-month for the assistant principal has really helped take that load so we can focus our areas in different manners. So you cannot compare to Western Center and what we do to your home district, and we don't compare ourselves to what we do that Mr. Smith and they do here at the high school. It's a totally different atmosphere, totally different background knowledge. We're not teaching biology, we're teaching auto mechanics, and our auto mechanics can't teach biology, and your biology teachers can't teach auto mechanics. So it's totally different. So you can't compare apples to apples.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. I mean, you know, I may be a slow learner, but in the last 5 years, I've learned that what goes on in an institution, a public school, is very much different than what goes on in a private four-year college. And so I understand that. So it would be helpful if I could at least see a job description.
I could send a job description over for this position and I have job descriptions for.
Now, I'm not trying to be sarcastic.
No,
but-
absolutely. I have
Yeah.
job descriptions for what the director responsibilities, how those would shift, how the principal's job would shift, and then what the assistant principal job description would look like. So I have those job descriptions created, and I'll be more than happy to send them over to Dr. Finity so he could share out to the board.
Because that would be helpful in clarifying what these options are and translating them from what are almost marshmallow titles that mean almost anything to something that translates so that you and I are actually communicating.
Dave, I want to go back to something you said, just to clarify something for this board. I think your statement was that Upper Perk has gone for option 4. My understanding from talking to Keith is that that was at a committee meeting, the Finance Committee meeting, and the proposal has not been presented to the full board yet. So it was the committee that said they looked like they'd go with option 4, not the board.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's committee or the board, but when Dr. Roach and Keith said that, I mean, they would take option 4.
The other piece of this, of information for this board, the 3 superintendents also met to discuss budget, and they agreed unanimously among the 3 of them to stay with option 1. So the superintendent recommendation is option 1.
And be fair, I said I'd support, I understand the budget process and where the pickle we put you guys in. That's why we're gonna change that budget process. I mean, look, as the director, once again, I can only give you the information. You guys make the big decisions and get paid a lot of money to make those decisions here on this board. So, this is where I'm at, and I can only give you the information I know best to serve the Western Center.
I want my paycheck.
No, we like the cookies at Christmas.
More cookies.
I have a question about, so for scenario 2, it says increase in security measures. Do you have reasons for feeling like you need, that there's been safety issues or security issues to justify that?
I don't want to discuss that in open forum, but I will discuss that how we come into the building, you know, having the salon go 3 days a week and having this person come in or this person, like that business office where people come is very congested. And that's basically, you got to think of that as your district office. So that's our front line to get into the building. So if a kid comes in late, they go into the business office, then they have to walk down to student services to get into class. So they're going through the building to get in to an office, then go to class. So it's more about traffic flow of the secure vestibule than anything, and the flow of the day.
So is the right motion then that we table this discussion and put it on, put it as a vote for our next meeting?
Second.
Yeah, so we don't need to take any official action. This was a informative presentation. There'll be an action item on the board agenda on the 28th. Okay.
Just like to say thank you, Dave, for all you do for all the kids.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to you guys, your support here, and, you know, more to come. It's not on deaf ears, and we've had several discussions, and, Dr. Finney is a great advocate for Pottsgrove at the Western Center, and so is your JOC members. So some days it's hard to hear, but at the end of the day, we're in this for the students, and that's what counts.
Thank you, David. I know you made quite the trip today, so I really appreciate you being here, and thank you for everything, and we'll keep working.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to 5.1, the May student report.
Okay, guys. Are you ready for my report? Okay, I am. All right, I know. You guys are so patient. Great. All right. So, as I sum up my time on the board, I want to give one last report. 2 weeks ago, was Ringing Rocks' field day, and a lot of high schoolers were up volunteering at it. The weather was actually really good. It was sunny, a little cloudy, but it didn't rain, which is really good. And the kids had so much fun, as always. I remember doing my field day up at Ringing Rocks, so it was really nice to give back. I want to thank Mrs. Deal at Ringing Rocks for her great organization that allowed the day to be ran really quickly and smoothly. Like, everything was set up when we got there. We just got up there, signed up for our event, went to the event. All the kids were great. All the classes were well behaved. It was really, really good. The middle school band, orchestra, and chorus put together 3 lovely concerts that had the auditorium filled all 3 nights. The high school also had great performances as well that were enjoyed by many. The elementary schools had their concerts at their respective buildings, and it was great to hear some great music from our future performers. The middle school also held their art show, and it was great to see more of our students shining in the arts. The middle school music department took a trip to New York City on 2 Wednesdays ago. Last Wednesday, maybe? Last Wednesday. My siblings went, I should know that, but, and got to see a Broadway production of Aladdin. Apparently it was really, really good. I was kind of jealous. My siblings came home and were telling me how great it was, and I was kind of jealous. So I heard it was really, really good. Shout out to Mr. Hayes and the music department up there for coordinating that. Speaking of trips, the seniors took our last class trip on Friday, and it was fun. It was very fun. It was a little rainy, but it was still fun, even though in the rain. It was also my birthday, so that was good too. But, a little added bonus to, Okay, well, I was the one thing getting me past the rain. All right. Thank you. Anyway, with PSSAs wrapping up with elementary schools and middle school, comes Keystones, APs, testing, and finals. I want to wish everybody luck because you all got this and you're going to do great. Like I said before, I want to thank everyone who has made this experience possible and so memorable. It's been an honor serving the board, and I'll miss you all dearly.
I'm sad to say this is my last time sitting with you all during this school year. However, I'm excited to continue to serve next year with our new member. This year's experience has allowed me to learn how to comfortably speak publicly and to speak with efficiency. Sitting with you all and learning how much you guys do for us in our school, along with our community, has amazed me and has forever changed me in a positive manner. Emily, you've always been so welcoming to me since my first day sitting in this chair, and I will always remember that about you. You answered all my silly questions and made sure we were both on the same page when it came to our reports every meeting. Sitting next to you has been an honor, and I know you will continue to do amazing and influential things in your future. Now for my report, it's not as long as hers. I'd like to shout out the music department, all students and PG staff who organized field day for all the students, and athletes wrapping up their spring sports. Congratulations on all of your spring 2024 accomplishments. Speaking of the music department, for the 2024-2025 school year, the spring musical production is Fiddler on a Roof. Finally, as everyone is beginning to finish and or take AP exams, Keystone exams, and finals for this year, I hope you all know that we are so proud of you and your hard work this school year. This is your 2023-2024 Junior Board Rep signing off until next year. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Any questions for our student board reps tonight? Okay, we're moving on to the report of the superintendent.
Okay, I'll keep it short. This has been a long meeting already. Just one item, really a celebration. Our very own Pottsgrove Senior High School was recognized by the U.S. News and World Report Best Schools ranking in 2024. This is the most prestigious ranking of high schools in the country. Pottsgrove ranked 24 out of 740 in PA. You can go to the website and read more about it, but a school earns recognition by ranking in the top 40% nationally, which we have done. it's hard to track how many times we've done this. I did try to go back and look at the story. We've earned it at least once. I think it was 2016. So congratulations to the district. I think this is a wonderful thing, and we can try to keep it going.
Thank you, Dr. Finnerty. Moving on to our approval of the minutes, action item 7.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve all of 7, which would include 7.1 and 7.2.
Thanks. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes 7.1, 7.2. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to action items personnel.
I'd like to make a motion under action items personnel, we approve 8.1 through 8.9.
If we could adjust that and move, separating out 8.3, so 8.1 and 8.2. Would you like to adjust the motion?
We're going to do 8.1, pulling out 8.3, and then we'll carry on to 8.9.
After what?
Why don't we do 8.1 through 8.2,
Yeah.
Right.
and then 8.3, and then the rest?
Yes.
Yes.
Do that.
I like it. Do we have a second? Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve 8.1 and 8.2. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motions pass. 8.3.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve 8.3.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve 8.3. Dr. Kennedy?
There was a reason we carved out 8.3. I think there's somebody in the audience who's waiting, was waiting on item 8.3. So Maddie, if you'd be so kind, would you like to stand up and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Maddie Riley. I just accepted the job at Lower Pottsgrove as the elementary school counselor.
And do we have friends and family or just random strangers next to you?
My parents and 2 of my brothers. I have 1 other brother, but he couldn't be here.
Okay, fantastic. All right.
Okay, any questions or comments before voting? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Again, thank you for waiting.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
You're going to love it.
All righty. We are at 8.4. Mrs. Grimm?
And I'd like to make a motion, we approve 8.4 through 8.9.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve 8.4 through 8.9.
Getting a
Any
little
questions or
delirious.
comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving to 8.10.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve 8.10 with an explanation for the community.
Do we have a second? Second. Thank you. Dr. Finnerty?
Yes, thank you. 8.10 is a motion to create a new position. It's an administrative position for an elementary administrator. It is not tied to a specific building, but rather floating to support the elementary position, all the elementary buildings. This is not an appointment. We don't have someone to name. This is the action to create the position. This position would also support our pre-K counts and get that program off the ground. So that's what this is. It'll be a 12-month position this year because it's supporting our pre-K counts, but then moving forward, it will likely be a 10-month position.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments with regard to 8.10? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to action items business.
I'd like to make a motion. I'm sorry, I'd like to make a motion, we approve 9.1.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve 9.1, the MCIU Board of Directors. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in,
I was
go
just
ahead.
going to say that this, Ashley's been a part of this for a while. Basically, we are approving all of the Board of Directors that sit on the MCIU. No?
No, approving 7 out of the,
The new ones.
yeah, so there's 8 here: Colonial, Jenkintown, Methacton, Pottsgrove, Upper Dublin, Upper Perkiomen, and Wissahickon, whose seats expired. Well, they do expire June 30th. So that's who we, I believe, that's who we are approving. So out of those, there's a 3-year term for Jenkintown, Methacton, PV, Pottsgrove, Upper Dublin, Upper Perk, and Wissahickon, and then a 1-year term for Colonial. And that's what we are voting on tonight. Oh, there is? Yes. Okay, okay, everybody has this?
Fill it out.
Okay, all right, so that's what we're approving.
So you need to fill that out and then keep it in your folder, and I'll collect it at the end tonight. Well, thank you for that.
And I just want to wish Anik luck. It's very informative. And whenever you get the chance to go in person, this past year, a lot of things came up for me where I was unable to get there. And just weather, sometimes. It was just nasty and, Norristown's not right around the corner. So, but it is very informative, and it's really nice to go and meet with and talk to other school board directors from around the county. It's very informative.
Thank you, Ashley. I'll do my best to fill your shoes.
So if I'm not mistaken, this would not require a vote because our vote is within the paper that we're going to be leaving in our folders. All right. Then we're moving on to 9.2, the board treasurer for 24-25. So I believe we would have a nomination, right? Okay, nominations for these position?
I nominate Patty.
Second. Any others? I second, yes, please. Any others? Okay, nominations closed. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Patty.
I love the pay.
Moving on to 9.3, the district solicitor.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve 9.3.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the district solicitor, and it's awkward if we say no since she's sitting right next to me. Any questions or comments? I know. Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. Moving on to 9.4, the 24-25 board and committee calendars.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve 9.4.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve 9.4. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to 9.5, the Lincoln Center Counseling Services.
I'd like to make a motion we approve 9.5.
Motion and a second to approve 9.5. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Moving on to 9.6, the Google Backup System.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we approve 9.6 along with 9.7.
Motion and a second to approve 9.6 and 9.7. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. Moving on to action items, education.
I'd like to make a motion we approve 10.1 and 10.2.
Thanks. We have a motion and a second to approve 10.1 and 10.2. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Did you have one, Bill? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, moving on to 10.3, we're going to hand that one to Dr. Finnerty.
10.3 is a motion to approve a partnership agreement with YWCA for pre-K counts. We're not quite ready to present that, so at this point, I'm recommending that we table that, and we'll bring that up when we have the contract for you to vote on.
No motion is necessary for that, right? We can simply table?
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to 10.4.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve 10.4 through 10.6.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve 10.4 through 10.6. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Moving to 10.7.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve 10.7.
Thanks. We have a motion and a second to approve 10.7. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving to 10.8.
I'm pretty excited about 10.8, so I'd like to make a motion that we approve this with a little explanation on our students and their achievements. We had them here once.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Dr. Finnerty?
Item 10.8 is to approve an overnight trip for our TSA students. This overnight trip is to allow students to participate at the national competition in Orlando, Florida. We have 3 students who have qualified for participation in the national competition, and per our board policy 121, this is a motion to approve funding that.
Are there any questions or comments? Sure.
I did see on the administrative content, as per policy 121, which is saying the students are responsible for entry fees, lodging, and other expenses. I'd like to possibly see if we can use some of our Market Street money to defray the cost for our students.
For which one?
For the trip, for the kids. So they don't
For
have to-
which, there's a bunch of them here.
The district covers everything. This is a national competition, the district covers everything.
Oh, okay. Oh, for the state competition, okay. Thank you. Wanted to make sure the kids that are winners don't have to pay. Thank you for that. Got the policy committee right there.
Okay, were there any other questions or comments with regard to 10.8? Yeah, good luck.
Yes.
Exactly.
Come back, yes, it's very exciting.
And if there aren't any others, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Have a great trip. Moving on to 10.9.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve 10.9 through 10.15.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve 10.9 through 10.15, all the overnight trips. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 11.1, approval of policies.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve 11.1.
We have a motion and a second to approve 11.1. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. 12.1, MCIU Board Update.
All right, sorry. I thought that was next month. Hold on, we just got the email, I believe yesterday with the update in it. Let me just find it. Yes, it was yesterday. From the meeting on 4/24, like I've always said, the best part of those meetings is the very beginning, when one of the departments gets up and presents. In this case, actually, Anne Marie, you would probably know a lot more about this than I do, because they were talking about the Project Aware. Okay. Basically what it is, I believe it was a grant, correct? Right. The one thing that made me feel really good about this is that Pottsgrove's name came up like 4 times in the presentation, because Pottsgrove has been one of the schools that's been very involved in this, even though every school in the county is involved, correct? Okay. So, could I put you on the spot? Could you explain what this is? Because obviously, I'm not nearly as well-versed in this as you are. This is what was presented to us in the beginning of the meeting.
Sure. So this is actually, I think it's a federal grant, and they were able to participate in this with some other IUs, and then some districts were able to raise their hand and participate. But it offers mental health screeners for suicide risk that actually students complete. So we are actually, our participation is part of the pilot in picking groups of students who will, complete these screeners, but also training our staff in the administration of them and then the next steps. Because as we always say, if you screen, you must intervene. So we need to make sure we're equipped to kind of provide those layers of support. But it's a very good grant for mental health supports. In addition, they're going to be creating a database of available and potential outpatient facilities, because that's an issue right now, finding mental health counseling, but also inpatient and outpatient counseling. So that's down the line with all of that, as this is like a multi-year grant. So we're excited to be a part of it, but we're also, making sure we take on what we can of it. And I think right now it's our middle school is participating more fully next year. Yep.
Thank you very much, because like I said, I'm not nearly as well-versed in that as you are, but I think aren't we participating with Luzerne County? I think it's us in Luzerne County.
Correct. Yeah, that was
Okay.
the other, I wasn't sure which one,
Okay.
but yeah.
All right, thank you. So basically, that was what our presentation was about this Project Aware, that, it's grant-based, and it sounded like from what Dr. Hasil was saying, is that it's quite successful so far, and I think it's a really good thing for the students and anybody involved. Anyway, the rest of it was just kind of board stuff. We voted unanimously to keep the membership services budget, I believe, with Jeff Sultanic. The rest, I'm not going to go too much into it, because it's just a lot of, basically what they do is each department presents what needs to be voted on, and it'll be a couple of bullet points, and then we vote on them. So it's, like, the update I have here is really long, so you guys wouldn't want me to read the whole thing. Can you see that? Yeah, it's really long. So anyway, I think my last meeting will be, I don't know if we have a June meeting, but our next meeting is next week, and if they have a June meeting, I'll be sure to go to that one, and then I'll hand the reins over to Anik. So thank you, Anne Marie, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Lucas. Thank you, Ashley. Okay, we're moving on to the 13-1, the JOC meeting update.
Just pausing as these, I had a handout for each person. Western Center met on Monday, May 6th. JOC met 7 o'clock on Monday, May 6th. Much of the information here is going to sound redundant to the board because of the discussion we had earlier, but I am going to read it just so it gets in public record. We started with recognizing students who recently were awarded at national conferences. There were 2 award winners from Pottsgrove from the Health Occupations and Students of American National Conference. Marty Flannery, who's an 11th grader in biomed at the Western Center, took first place in interviewing skills, and Corey Herbsled, who is in protective services at the Western Center, 12th grader at Pottsgrove, took first place in life support skills. There was also a national conference for Skills USA, 2 award winners that the center had, neither of them from Pottsgrove. And then there was also a national conference for Career and Culinary Arts Program, CCAP, 3 award winners, none from Pottsgrove. I say this here because I think it shows the quality of instruction and of the development of the students that are going on, that we have national award winners, that they have national award winners that are going out. There was a budget discussion, which we mentioned already, discussing the 24-25 budget and the 4 budget scenarios, which Dave went over, of a 4.56% increase, 5.33, 8.07, and 8.84, also known as option 1, 2, 3, and 4. After discussion, the JOC concluded that more discussions were needed at the district level, which we had tonight, and we'll have at our next meeting, and the JOC vote on the budget was moved to the June 3rd meeting. Administrative Director Dave Levengood, who's with us tonight, reported that he continues to meet with the superintendents from the 3 sending school districts to discuss capital planning, and that they are making progress. Slow, but making progress on how they are going to calculate funding for capital planning. Dave mentioned tonight the National Occupational Competency Testing Institute, also known as NOCTI, performance testing. The center was up 1% from last year, with 94% of students who took the test scoring competent and advanced. And that shows, again, the quality of the students that are coming out of the center. 10 WMCTC Western Center students were recently inducted into the National Technical Honor Society. 2 of them are from Pottsgrove, Logan Albright, an 11th grader at Pottsgrove, and Zachary Strunk, an 11th grader at Pottsgrove. The senior awards ceremony for the Western Center is next Wednesday, May 22nd at 7 p.m. at Springford High School. The principal of the Western Center, Craig Robinson, presented on enrollment data for 24-25. Again, this may be redundant from tonight, but you have it in writing as you think about your vote. Total applications overall were 333. Of the total, 205 were accepted at 62% acceptance rate. 128 are waitlisted at 38%. Total Pottsgrove applications were 98, which is 29% of the total. 49 were accepted and 49 were waitlisted, which is a 50-50 split between acceptance and waitlisting, and Pottsgrove acceptance rate is 24% of the total accepted. What was new for me, and we learned, is that as we were looking at acceptance numbers, and I've shared those with the board, originally we said that there were 114 applications turned in from Pottsgrove, and at this last report there were 98. So there was this question of, well, what happened to the other ones? Well, it seems that students from all 3 sending school districts, you can begin an application online, and as the school begins to count applications in before they are completed, when they appear online or a student starts it, there's about a 10% dropout rate of students who start applications and don't complete them. There were 40 students overall who started applications online but never completed them for 11% of total of kids who apply. 1 out of 10 never finished the application. I'm not sure we know why, and I think it's a question worth finding out. 16 Pottsgrove students started applications online but never completed them. So our non-completion rate is 14%. Pottsgrove, a bit more than the other. Next JOC meeting is Monday, June 3rd at 7 p.m. at the Western Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Any questions about the JOC report? Okay, we're going to move on to committee items, 14.1.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve 14.1 along with 14.2.
We have a motion and a second to approve 14.1 and 14.2. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving to 14.3, the Policy Committee meeting report.
All right, so the Policy Committee met April 25th here. We reviewed 3 policies. It was a pretty quick meeting. Policy 825 was one of our first policies that we looked at. It's a new one, personal relationships with staff. It's recommended because we want to develop further along the civility policy that we had developed in a previous meeting, and it's in alignment with Title IX and other protections in the workspace. The policy was moved to 30-day review by the public. Then we also looked at policy 103 and 104, which are about discrimination in Title IX and sexual harassment affecting students and staff. These policies, we were looking at them to update language around the individual who is going to be the compliance officer. It was stated that it was the assistant superintendent. We're changing that to the director of human resources. The timeliness of this was that same week, the Department of Education, as well as some federal lawsuits came out saying that Title IX was going to have some changes to it, some big changes. So we did make the changes to that language. However, we were tabling any 30-day move or policy further review in anticipation of further updates that this policy is going to undergo in the coming year. So these will sit in draft, and we will wait further updates from legal counsel and other things on this. And that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Lucas. Okay, moving on to new business. Dr. Finnerty?
None.
Jay?
I want to give a shout out to Cecilia. My family and I were at the underclassmen awards ceremony last night, and our student representative was standing on the stage, got a Academic Excellence Award, which is a 4.0 or greater for all 3 of the years that she's been at Pottsgrove, plus a Golden Falcon Award. That's tremendous in terms of that achievement, and congratulations to you. And Emily, I wish I could talk about you. I can't yet because the senior awards haven't happened yet, so I'm not leaving you out, but really wanted to give Cecilia that recognition.
Congratulations, Cecilia. It's wonderful. Yes. Patty?
The only thing I had that we've repeatedly said, the Western Center is going to have their senior recognition next week, May 22nd, and we're all invited. It's at Springford this year. It's a wonderful celebration.
Thanks. Anik? Sure. Tanya?
I do not have anything, thank you.
Dr. Nippert?
Thank you. No.
Okay. Jim?
One question about our various music concerts, choral, orchestra, band. Had brought up once before, just loosely, about possibly live streaming them. And I didn't know if there was some way that the district could maybe look into that just to see what the options are. I mean, my understanding is that even with the rights for the pieces, since it's not done for profit, there shouldn't be an issue. And I do know other schools and colleges that do live stream concerts, and that way it'd be a chance for family members that can't get into the district because they live too far away to participate, as well as just to bring community awareness to our music programs, so.
Mr. Lappick and I did talk about this, and very shortly after that talk, I ran into Mr. Hayes and Ms. Hyde, and actually had that conversation, and there's some excitement there. So we're looking into what we can do.
Thank you. Bill? Ashley?
Yeah, one thing, 2 things, actually. I believe, wasn't last week Teacher Appreciation Week? So I just want to tell all the teachers, I appreciate you. And we all do, from the entire board, I'm sure. I can speak for all of us on this one, but thank you for everything that you do for our students each and every day. Second thing is, tomorrow night is the Power Town Hall on fair funding and taxes. It is involving Pottstown and Pottsgrove. Okay, it's a different fair funding than we have been told about the last couple years. It's a different formula. Pottsgrove would actually benefit from the formula that is being kind of presented to the legislators this time around. So anyway, if anyone is interested in coming and hearing what's going to be talked about, Joe Cerisi will be there and Paul Friel. And then I'm going to be there, school board director from Pottstown, and then some other people who are kind of in the know. I'm honestly, I'm a little in the dark about it because up until recently, I always thought fair funding was going to hurt Pottsgrove. So, but with this new formula, it would actually benefit us. So I still don't know a whole lot about it. I'm going to learn more about it tomorrow night. but it is from 6 to 7:30 at the Tri-County Active Adult Center at 7, what is it, what's the address? 288 Moser Road in Pottstown. So if you guys want to come, it'd be nice to see you.
Thank you, Ashley, and for those old Pottstown people like me, it's the old Pottstown Health Club.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah,
When
I
you're old
know.
Pottstown Health Club.
Yep.
But yes, the senior center, and they do a really great job there. Thank you. So my new business, I just, for the, I have to turn it here, but I first want to say happy belated birthday, because I think you said that was last week? All the cool kids are born in May, so. And now for the question of the hour is, yes, and April and January. Tell us all about school.
Okay, well, school is done in 4 days, but other than that, my last day is Monday, which is, I don't know, kind of bittersweet. I'm looking forward to a few days off, but other than that, right now I'm looking for a roommate at the University of Delaware. I'm going to their honors college, which is really exciting. So I'm looking for a roommate right now. I was doing that earlier, but I'm really excited to do that. I'm debating double majoring now because I kind of want to double major. I was going to major in psych, but now I'm going to might double major in psych and neuroscience. So we shall see. I don't know. I got to figure out my career path still. Believe it or not, I don't have that figured out. But you would think, but I mean, I know. Anyway, so that's pretty much graduation's in how many days? Did I say the 14th? 17 days. That's really not very many days. So that's, exciting and bittersweet at the same time. But it's been fun. It's been real. Pottsgrove. It's been 13 years here, so, much as I'm gonna miss it, I'd like to see the world. So, it's been a good 13 years, but I'm excited for the future and everything the future holds.
I'm ready to cheer again. I'm ready for my senior year. I feel like I did my duty this year. Ready for junior year to be over. Academically, this has been my hardest year, I think. It's supposed to be, I know. Visiting colleges this summer is getting real for me. My sister, Anya, she came into the school as a freshman this year, and I'm very grateful that I have been able to spend, next year I'll be spending 2 years with her in the same school. She's my best friend, and I'm ready, and not ready to leave her, but, I'm ready to continue with my studies elsewhere, and I know I'm going to college right after this, so I know where general direction, but not really widespread direction of where I'm going. So yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing. And to Bill's point earlier, when you said about not knowing a career path, I don't know my career path. Bill doesn't know. I don't know if any of us really know. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up still. Exactly.
Almost there.
It's kind of like it's a dotted line, right? You just keep figuring it out as you go. But it's awesome. And for you, I'm excited for you to move into senior year, and that junior year, I mean, gosh, all those years ago, it was my hardest year. I think it's everybody's hardest year.
Yeah.
So next year will be, that year that you've paid all these dues to enjoy.
I love school, and school, I don't know, I love to have a busy schedule, so I did not take it easy on myself. Next year at Montco in the morning, full senior schedule. So I'm gonna be here all day. I'm not leaving early, so I'm making the most of it. And honestly, I'm just more excited to get back on the field with my friends and spend my last year cheering and dancing and in the classroom, which I love to do. So, yeah.
That's exciting. I, again, just want to thank you both for sharing each and every time. We so much enjoy it. That's why we're all sitting here, is for that. So thank you. Does anybody else have any other comments or questions before we move to public comment?
One other comment, just to remind the board, and this will be on the board meeting on the 28th. We do have a board retreat on Thursday. So make sure that that's on your calendar, and that'll be here at the district office. So thank you.
Okay, we're moving to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that has any public comment? It can be with regard to any topic whatsoever. Okay, how about online? No. All right, motion to adjourn? All in favor? Good night, everyone. Thank you.